welcome back to another video. Emulation on the Steam Deck is truly amazing, to the point where I wasn't expecting it to be this good, if I'm being honest. I didn't expect it to be as fluid. I wasn't expecting a whole lot, if I was being honest. Not that I didn't think it could do it, but just not enough to the point where it would impress me. Not to the point where I would be thoroughly shocked by how awesome it is on the Steam Deck. The level of integration, the level of polish that emulation on the Steam Deck has. There's just countless of ways to do it. You can use EmuDeck. You could install Batocera directly onto the Steam Deck. You can dual boot Windows and use Windows emulators. But specifically for using the Steam Deck on SteamOS, there's a ton of options. And you can really go in any direction you really want for it to be the best and easiest way for you to do it. Like, I use EmuDeck and all of those other things, but I use a fork of Bee's Nest for the Super Nintendo, which is an emulator. It allows you to have a lot of HD features, widescreening certain games. It's an amazing experience, and I am thoroughly impressed with how awesome. No screen tearing. It makes the games look stunning. And for N64 emulation, I use M64. It's just a fantastic emulator. It allows me to use widescreen on some N64 games, like Ocarina of Time, which actually, for me, elevates the experience, because I've never been a big fan of having to play this game in 4x3, to the point where when I was even younger, when I was like 12 or something, I would intentionally widescreen in emulators games like GameCube and DS and stuff, just so it'd fill up my screen. But it would be arguably a worse experience because everything was super wide and stretched out. And for specifically GameCube and Wii emulation with Dolphin, truly looks amazing. Like, seriously, you can get 2x resolution scaling, sometimes 1x, 1.5, sometimes you have to go to native res depending on the game and how intense it is. But in the games that you do get 2x res in, it's beautiful. It makes the games look brand new. No need for those HD remasters. It's amazing if you just can get it 2x resolution, and boom, that game looks brand new again. Something truly amazing. Something that you can't do on every emulation device. It's amazing and one of my favorite parts about the Steam Deck emulation. As for original Xbox, it's a bit of a mixed bag. I feel like that needs a little bit more optimization. Halo was running around 55, 50 FPS most of the time, so not perfect like as it was back in the day. And the resolution couldn't be increased. It was okay, like, it wasn't the best way to do it, but most of those original Xbox era games are available on Steam anyways, so I have a harder time justifying emulating that generation of games. Not PS2 though. PS2 has a whack ton of exclusives that haven't been ported or remastered or anything like that on newer generation consoles, so I have fully accepted emulating PS2 games, because screw Sony. Not to mention, you can even emulate PS3 games on the system. It's not perfect, and it definitely needs more development, but we are getting to a place where you can realistically expect to emulate PS3 games on the Steam Deck, which is crazy. It's really crazy. And it's just awesome to see that this community is really coming together to really focus on the Steam Deck. A lot of community development has been happening, and I can only expect it to get better and better from here. Now is the part of the video where we really talk about value. If you were looking at the Steam Deck purely as an emulation device, not accounting for its ability to play all the games available on Steam that are Steam Deck verified and playable and stuff, any game on Steam, is it worth as just an emulation device? Now see, that's where the conversation gets tricky. As a pure emulation device, the quality it produces is unprecedented. It's fantastic. It is downright amazing. Some of the best emulation that's not a, tower PC I've ever seen in a portable device. but is that necessarily something you should get for specifically emulation? I don't know. The price is really high considering if you only want it for emulation. There might be better options that you may be served with if you want to, because like realistically, should you be spending $400 on an emulation device when you can get like any other device like an Iron Odin for $200? Like, though the emulation quality won't be as good as something like the Steam Deck, you're saving anywhere from $200 to $400 depending on the model Steam Deck you purchase if you just go with something like the Iron Odin. And they're not even necessarily saying you have to go with that option if you want a cheaper handheld for emulation. I've made countless videos talking about alternative handheld emulation solutions. So if you're talking about purely for emulation, if that's all you want, sure, the Steam Deck is one of the best handhelds out there. But I feel like if it's just for emulation, you're wasting a lot of the potential of the Steam Deck if you want it for just your retro games. So yes, the Steam Deck is amazing, but just for emulation, it does offer some of the best performance we've ever seen. But does that necessarily mean you should buy it for just emulation? I don't think so. If that's all you want, you might be better served with other devices, especially if you want to save some money. You can definitely find other options at better prices if you're just looking for an emulation device. But if you want something that really covers all your bases, something you can use as a computer, something you can use for all your mobile handheld gaming, including emulation and high-end PC gaming, you can do that with the Steam Deck, if I'm being honest. You don't necessarily need anything else other than a Steam Deck. I know people who exclusively use the Steam Deck as their primary computer. They go home, dock it, and you use it, they file their taxes, they pick it up, take it with them on the go when they want to play games on a road trip or play games at a bus stop, and they can go home and just relax and play some, Dolphin, some classic GameCube games on the device without ever having to change devices, ever having to carry multiple devices or charge multiple things so you can do whatever you want. It's truly amazing. I know some people who've even retired their Nintendo Switches because they set up Yuzu or Skyline on their Switch just so they don't have to ever deal with their Switch again. They consolidate it all into one device. It's crazy. Some people are making the decision to fully commit and switch to the Steam Deck as their everything device. The only thing they carry on them other than the Steam Deck would be their phone. And if the Steam Deck could function as a phone, some of them might even switch to it. For Christ's sake, some people bought the N-Gage. Like, seriously, people are that crazy sometimes. So it really boils down to that. Do you think you want to commit hardcore into the Steam Deck and use it for everything? Go ahead. It's perfect. I don't see any other device posing that level of value and performance in this arena. Sure, there are other devices like the ROG Ally, the Ioneos of the world, and GPD, even Ambernic making a Windows device. None of them can really either pose enough performance for the price or have a good enough price for the same level of performance. Like, seriously, have you seen that, like, some of the cheapest devices, the only two devices I can think of that are close to the Steam Deck's price is the Ambernic Win 600 at $350, but the performance it offers is markedly worse. It's basically the level of like an Xbox 360. In the Z1 Non-Extreme ROG Ally at $600, which offers performance that isn't exactly good enough to outcompete the Steam Deck in price, especially considering how close those two are in performance. And I don't necessarily think some of the features that the ROG Ally offers would be worth it. I see the 120Hz screen as amazing. I love it. I have a 165Hz monitor. I love a high refresh rate monitor. But on a screen that size, I think it's just a waste of battery life. In having that high of I think it's like a 1080p or some higher resolution than the Steam Deck screen, which is appreciated, but at this point, I think is just a waste of battery life. Something like the Steam Deck screen, the 1200 or 800p or whatever, that Steam Deck's resolution is. I think it's a good resolution. I don't think it's very low resolution. I think it's good enough. Same way I felt about the Nintendo Switch when it first came out. That 720p screen was okay at the time, but I feel like it's starting to really show its age, especially in the OLED because it's bigger now. I'm like, I can count those pixels. It's a little rough. But I think the Steam Deck is fine. Especially because, you know, the combination of refresh rate and the resolution with the games, I think it's a perfect combination so you don't have to really stress the hardware that much, so you don't have to really strain yourself to get good battery life. It definitely feels like very early Nintendo Switch vibes when every game only lasts less than 3 hours. With time, I feel like there will be more optimization, more care taken to the Steam Deck. So hopefully that happens, or this video would be just a whole crock of shit. But to summarize, if you're looking for a dedicated emulation device, I would recommend to look elsewhere. But if you're willing to commit to the Steam Deck, it's probably one of the best options out there. Especially for all the other things it can do, not necessarily just for emulation. So that's the video. What are your thoughts? Leave a comment down below. I would love to hear what you do with your Steam Deck. Have you fully committed? Or did you buy the Steam Deck just for emulation? Like, I'm super curious to hear your thoughts on what else you could do with the Steam Deck, because I am looking for other things to do with the Steam Deck, because I am so excited about it. It's amazing, and I love it. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. All the other social media garbage down below, and don't forget to have a wonderful day.